Hey, bless up, everyone, and welcome to Constructive Convos. Bless up, family. Welcome to Constructive Convos, where we are consistently bringing the conversation back to black. Today we have another hot topic. We are talking about cleaning up the house, and in that cleaning up the house process, we're talking about exorcism, a continuation from last week. What areas of our community still needs to be exercised? We need change and transformation. So we're going to dive deep into these topics and talk about them and how we can achieve this. And we have a wonderful panel here. We have our brother B2. We have brother E Black, brother Shakara, solving the race problem, brother Witness,
Yes,
and
good evening,
myself,
everybody.
Melanated Goddess. Everyone, bless up the family.
Yeah, big up, peace.
Good evening, peace, everybody.
What's up on this?
Peace, peace.
Yeah, so you know, the topic that we discussed last week was so deep, and we really, even in 2 hours, we could only just cover but so much. Just talking about the possession, right, and what areas we were possessed as a people, and what type of possession we had, whether we were aware we were possessed and whether we were not aware. We had some very interesting dialogue about that. But today we wanted to kind of go even further with that topic and really talk about the exorcism and what areas require exorcism. So I guess I will just list off some of the areas, and then people can kind of talk about examples for them, what that would look like. So exorcism kind of in the area of music, in the area of fashion, diet, dating, self-hate, debt, spending, language, our names, nationhood, trade and business, and employment and currency. What the family got to say about that?
Yeah, I think we should, kick off with one of Witness's favorite subjects, drill music. What are you saying, Witness?
We need an exorcism with drill music, brother Witness.
That's a tough one. I would definitely say there's a lot of musical forms which need some exorcism. I think the Black Americans say it best when they refer to certain things as coonery and buffoonery. So I think certain musical art forms and certain musical artists have fallen down into performing a new form of minstrel show, which definitely needs some cleaning up.
I can't disagree with you on that. Some of the music that's out there definitely portrays us in a way that is not kind of beneficial for our community, in my opinion.
Like, I suppose also with the music, really and truly, that is one of the marketing tools for a lot of the other situations that we find ourselves in, like in terms of, like what we clothe in, how we speak, also how we spend, and how we relate to each other. So I think, yeah, when you think about it, music is a big issue in terms of this possession.
But it becomes difficult because if a lot of your people like that music and they like the imagery, how do you kind of exercise them from liking that type of derogatory imagery? Because I remember, especially with hip hop, the change in the early 90s, as the imagery began to change, the music began to change, you still had a lot of American men, Black American men and women who were performing hip hop in a very, you know, conscious manner or just having fun. But slowly but surely, they started being phased out of the system. So now it is so deep within our subconscious to like a lot of these negative images. How are you going to stop people from not listening to that? Because I mean, I basically boycotted hip hop from 96. I stopped listening to hip hop, but that's me. Not everybody's going to do that. So it's like, how do you exercise the demons within the music? Because you can't exercise it from the artists because they want to get paid. So that means the people who buy the music are the ones who are going to have to be exercised. So I don't know how you do that.
And if I could add into that, I think the dynamic is interesting. And from the perspective of consuming that music most of my life, I would find it that if we remove the message, that's what we truly have a problem with. Like there's a new wave of conscious trap music, which I like because people resonate with the upbeat, you know, the beats of it, the fast pace. People resonate with that more so than the actual message itself. So if the conscious trap wave could start to gain a little bit more traction, like something that Kendrick Lamar is pushing, we would see the overall transformation in music, because it's not that all of the music is completely terrible. I think hip hop has stayed true to where it was, you know, still within the underground, but you're not going to hear like a conscious record on the radio, because that's not the message that the dominant society wants to promote. So I think we just got to put it in context that Black people still are creating that conscious music. That's just not what's going to be publicized, I would say.
So brother, solving the race problem, you know, I'm kind of like on the same page with Brother Witness, as far as like I will admit that I just gave up on hip hop and I stopped listening to it. So if I wanted to find some of this conscious trap music, right? Maybe I can get with the beat, but you know, when they start saying crazy stuff or sounding like they want to commit suicide or they want to shoot somebody or take drugs, I just tune out and I turn it off. So how do I find, I just type in conscious trap, and then
One
that's like,
example, one example I can give you is Sahai the Prince. Another example, I consider that track by Kendrick Lamar, Humble, to be conscious trap. I don't know if you're familiar with that song Humble, but I would consider that in the lane of trap, based on the beat, based on the tempo, but it's a conscious record. You know, so I would say there's a few instances of it, but that I wouldn't say is the biggest push. If you still want some conscious trap music, you still gonna have to look towards and if you want contemporary, you're gonna have to look toward your Lupe's, your J. Cole's, your Kendrick Lamar's, not, you know, anybody mainstream and popular now.
okay. Well, I'm glad you dropped some names, because I'm sure there are other people like myself and Witness that are like, man, just gonna stick with my slow jams, my old school. You know what I'm saying? I listen to soca. I listen to old school dance hall music. You know what I'm saying? And
who could blame you? You know, who
yeah.
would want to be cursed out on every track? Like, who could blame you for that? Yeah, I understand exactly why y'all doing it, and I agree with it.
I'm grateful for this Afro beats. Thank the universe, the Most High, and all the other names for the creative people. Thank him for Afro beats. I can clean my house and enjoy myself, you know.
Is that we've always like the auto tune, though, sis?
You said what?
I said, is that with or without the auto tune?
Oh, listen. I'm not as extreme as Brother Witness. I can do with a little auto tunes. You know what I'm saying? I know auto tunes go way back to what's his name? Roger. Y'all remember Roger?
The
guy that sing "I Want to Be a Man."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're talking about Troutman, Roger Troutman.
Yeah.
Roger Troutman, yeah.
So,
Computer Love, all that, yeah.
Computer Love, yeah, I know.
Computer Love, California Love.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Witness said casting a spell.
Yeah, I blame
But
Cher in 1988. That song, "Do You Believe in Love After Love?" That was the one that did it. That auto cue or auto tune in her voice, and since then the whole world's gone mad. So
Oh, that was what? That was Cher, right? That was Cher singing that, right?
yes, yes.
but on the music thing though, see like Dave now, yeah, his new music, like that tune Black, yeah, I think that's like my favorite tune speaking about blackness. Like maybe it's because it's new, it just quickly come up on my charts, yeah, or whatever. But really, that tune there I've been listening to every day, and that one is a powerful one.
Has
another,
everyone heard that song?
Sorry, no. What's the name of the artist again, please?
Dave,
our Santan Dave.
yeah, yeah,
You
the
can just
tune's
type in
called
Dave
Black.
though, innit?
No, but just type in Dave. Yeah, he's not gonna
Yeah,
come up.
yeah, yeah.
I thought it was Dave Black.
No,
No,
it's
the
just
tune
Dave.
is
The
called
song is
Black.
called Black.
She's called Black.
Oh, okay. My
Yeah, that
bad.
song's powerful.
See, y'all know melanated. They
Another
don't know
another
about
artist to check out is a brother called Koji Radical.
Oh yeah, I
Yes.
never heard of him still.
Yes.
Well, I
Okay,
gotta,
but it
I gotta
sounds
go
like
back. I
he's
gotta
got
go
a
back and
cosign
watch
over
his
there,
music.
boy. Well done,
I'm a
Dave.
fan, bro. He's hard, fam. I'm showing you. If only you knew. He's got another one. What's it called? Water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Koji Radical Water.
you get me. Coming home. His albums and his EPs are big still. They're good stuff.
So,
And
do you
I,
guys think that this is enough? Like, this is like a exorcism? Do you think
No,
that
it's,
this type
it's
of
never enough,
music?
you know. I remember, yeah, an interview with Mos Def reading it in the 90s, late 90s, maybe early 2000s. And they were asking him similar questions about the state of the music and the kind of things there. And he was saying that he thinks that people focus on the music too much. They should be focusing on the people, because he said that when you look at the eras before, the artists were informed by the movements, innit? And they made music that complemented the movements of the people of the time. And so in a sense, yeah, like if I take the implication of what he's saying that basically the state of the music is really a reflection of the extent to which there is an active kind of movement operating at the moment. You see what I'm saying? So like it's about creating movements of people that influence musicians and artists, and then those musicians and artists will continue to influence other people. But I think it starts. I don't necessarily think it starts with the music. You know what I'm saying? And I think maybe that's probably the part of the problem, that we're looking for it to start with the music rather than.
So you don't think that the music has the power to create the movement? That's basically what I'm hearing.
I don't think the music can create the movement. I think the music can be part of the voice of the movement.
Nah,
That's what I'm saying.
I
And I
think the
think
music could be a
I
catalyst.
would.
I think the
and I
music
think
can be a
and
catalyst for the
I
movement,
agree
in
with
my
that.
opinion.
I'd agree with
I
that,
would
but
just.
I'm gonna say this quickly. Yeah, all the conscious artists that we know of here get their cue from like either directly or indirectly from the movements that they study, not necessarily the conscious music that they're listening to. You see what I'm saying? But it's like, I'm not saying that it can't be part of the voice and it can't influence people, because it has and it will. But if you look at reggae music and the influence it had that influence because there was a Rastafari movement. Hip hop in the 90s had that influence because there was a black nationalist movement that included many organizations like the NOI and other red, black, and green organizations. You know what I'm saying? So, and then because of that, they therefore influence other people. You know what I'm saying? In that sense. But I think the source of it is always social movements of people that create revolutionary art, and not necessarily the other way around.
So those movements are no longer. I guess what I'm saying is like those movements that you mentioned are still around, right?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
NOI is still impacting black men, still helping them get off of drugs, helping them to, rehabilitate themselves, be men and lead their families and X, Y, and Z. So those things are still going on. You still have the nations of God's and earth. You still have people, studying Kemetic spirituality or any sort of African spirituality, you still have these movements. You have the Moors doing their thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have these movements, and it's so interesting because the music is still not reflecting that. The music is reflecting ratchetness, like despite all of this other stuff. Like they want to throw an unk on or a third eye necklace or something like that, but they still rapping about some trash. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of crazy. They still rapping about trash. I'm like,
no, I hear that. I hear that. I think the major shift came in the Puff Daddy era. And that's not an indictment against Puff necessarily.
Hey, easy on New York. Easy on New York.
I was just saying. No, but I think more to the point is I think that's when the major record companies began to have exert more and more influence over the music and what it portrayed. And so I think in that era, the balance shifted. You see what I'm saying? So you're right, the movement still exists and they're still doing their work. But at the end of the day, we don't have institutions to match Sony, Time Warner, Universal, BMG. You see what I'm saying? At this dispensation of time. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm agreeing with you. In the sense of the fact that the movements are still existing, and where they're still doing their work, you will still see their influence in some way, shape, or form. And I guess one of the biggest examples of that in recent times is T.I. Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying, and his relationship with the Nation of Islam, and the output of his music and the messages that he's been putting out. Do you know what I'm saying? In respect of that. So yeah.
And to that point, as far as like the overall concept, the exorcism itself, like looking at the big picture, the exorcism of, removing that from the consciousness of the people, it builds on the point that you just made, that we become so inundated with the music because it has such a large grasp, it has such a large cultural and societal influence, whether it be commercials or every time you get into your car. So, shout out to Melanated Goddess and Witness for being able to perform that exorcism and get it out, because it is tough to avoid the type of music because they see to it that this is put on your agenda and put into your subconscious to absorb and listen to and hear those types of messages.
Yeah, I would agree, man. And I would also say, yeah, it's like what Falakuti said, like this is the underground spiritual game. It's like it starts from like the grassroots. Like I feel like it does really. I think it does start by the artist and the musician. Like people hear the music and they sort of vibrate to that. And I feel like the issue that we have today is our society is too perverted, it's too gone left, and getting it back to where it's back to sanity is gonna be extremely hard, because we already opened up the Pandora's box of all of these different ideas of, it's. I feel like it's where the situation we're in is it's a very difficult situation, because even the vibrations that they used now to record music and the hertz that he uses is very destructive to the human body, and they took that up. They took that after they defeated the Nazis in World War II. So it's like everything we are right now is like working against us, from the food to the music to the vibrations to the medicine, everything. So it's like, how do we start dealing with that? Because I do feel that's where the root of the problem is,
You know what I'm gonna say though? Part of the exorcism though, yeah, is not being confined to what's popular, because I'm gonna say, like, there's always conscious music being made, always, in every genre of black music, yeah, there's always message music being made. And so part of it is for the audiences ourselves to take more responsibility for seeking out those artists and supporting them. You know what I'm saying? I think that's an essential component of it. And as well, but like, and that's why, like, because I'm thinking about what Witness has said in terms of boycotting hip hop since '96, and I'm thinking about the amount of albums that I would not have listened to, yeah. If I did that, like, I wouldn't have known about Wu-Tang Forever, Fugees, Dead Prez, the Black Star album, Most Definitely Quali, Common Like Water for Chocolate. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff.
But think about what you
Victory
just
lap.
think about the things that you just think about the albums that you just named, and then the groups of people that you just named, right? And think about the people that we have today.
Yeah,
And
but
there's a big difference.
Like, I can't understand one word those Migos guys be saying. What
Amigos,
and it's like dumbing down, because I feel like this, yeah. I feel like the more idiocracy you listen to, the more of an idiot you become, in a sense. Because I feel like, yeah, go on.
What I say, yeah, because when the artists that I just mentioned, yeah, at the same time that as they were making music, yeah, what's it called? You had this was in the middle of Puff Daddy, yeah, and all that kind of stuff. There were,
but even Puff Daddy, but that's the thing. Even Puff Daddy is very different to what we have today. What we have today, even Puff Daddy in the videos, like I don't know, but like I don't think Puff Daddy had girls in tongs in his videos. Or
So,
I don't think
well,
that Puff Daddy had the craziest things that was going on. Really, they might have them in bathing suits, but like the way that they have them today, like stripping on the pole and throwing dollars at them, all of this madness.
Right, put it this way, yeah. Song came out. What year did Song come out?
what song?
What?
99, I think.
Cisco, 99, 2000.
Yeah, I think around
Cisco,
that.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was our hot. You follow me? So yeah, it weren't too far removed. I get what you're saying.
No, I agree with your point, because whenever I speak to young people about music back in my day, I always say that there was always a balance. To me, right now, it definitely seems imbalanced. I understand that there is conscious rap,
100%.
that there is conscious rap available now, but it's not as balanced as it was, let's say, like 1996. In
I agree.
1996 or 1994, on the mainstream radio, you could hear Onyx talking about they stick up kids and they robbing people, and then they'll play self-destruction. You're headed for self-destruction, like right afterwards. Or, Queen Latifah talking about who you calling a bitch, UNITY. Like, those were popular songs. Those weren't like underground hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could just hear do the Humpty Hump, or you know what I'm saying? Like, you could just hear like good rap music about some. It's not about like but then there was also people like EPMD, or not EPMD, what's those guys' names? I can't remember their names, but they was like what I would call like gangster rap. I hate that term, but or like E40, or like they would talk about drugs and being in a trap house, but then there was people like Goody Mob and Outkast. You see what I'm saying? Like, there was still more of a balance. Right now, it is cooking the drugs in the trap house, trap, cook it, twerk ass. That's it.
Yeah, but some of the youngers that I know, I agree with you. And some of the youngers that I know, when they talk to me about, back in the day music, I said, what did you grow up listening to? They was like, when we was kids, we was listening to 50 Cent. So that's their whole orientation. Some of their whole foundation is them kind of tunes there. But, and I think that's because they were susceptible, because they didn't know better, because they wasn't showed better. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't introduced to other kind of things. Well, back in the day, I think music might have been better, but I think there's been a long-term regression that's been financed and encouraged, partly by us, but I believe mostly heavily influenced by people outside of our culture.
How can we change that?
But I
Huh?
do feel, yeah, like I do feel, yeah, it's like also um the whole the whole thing right now is like we're stuck in this cycle of, you know, we start here and then we try to keep going and keep going and keep going, but it's like we're being sprung around. Like if you even listen to the music, it's like a repetitive flow of the same thing, keeping us in some sort of cycle. And
Yeah.
how do we overcome that cycle um of hypnotism that the media gets us? Like, because what I feel, yeah, is like danger and sex and lust and what you quote unquote call sin is very attractive, and it's very it gets people's air because people feel like, you know, human beings, we are on always trying to get on our feet and trying to you know, get the next thing that's going to excite us, and these things excite us. How do we sway from these things, and how do we change the focus from that to something more constructive?
I think there's been a lot of money invested into making that idea seem productive. All those things that you spoke about, lust and greed and this and that, even through advertisement, who is it? A&Rs and all these music people, they're searching through the millions of people that have dreams to want to be everything from from Biggie Smalls to Michael Jackson, and they pick the ones they want to pick, invest in them, put them in front of everyone, and tell us that's what's hot right now. You know what I'm saying? They can create algorithms on YouTube to make sure that we all start coming across the same sort of people, and all of a sudden the same people is hot because we all know them and we can all sing them in the car together when they subsequently turn up on the radio. You know what I'm saying? But I just think that in order to break this spell, I think sometimes the bliss of ignorance isn't going to work, because you can have, a lot of the time you have you can create false environments that, sorry, not false environments, but you can create an environment that works where you can have your culture intact, so you can interact with your reality around you. Yeah. But once you step outside, and that can be something like your grandma's house. At your grandma's house, you're mad polite, you know how to deal with people, everything seems to work, it's all sweet, everybody knows their place. Once you step out, you become Killer Driller, yeah? And Killer Driller has to have a totally different culture in order to engage with his environment around him. And he gravitates to everything that teaches him how to be productive in his environment. Do you see what I'm saying? So now, if the only people that are teaching productivity are 50 Cent, who taught me I have to get rich or die trying, or Ludacris, who taught me I need hoes in every area code, yeah, then, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to run towards these because I'm seeing productivity. And every time people try and talk to me about what I would deem as positivity, you know, I might turn around and say, oh, that's not productive. Does it ever work? Do you see what I'm saying? I think it's time now to show and tell uh, some of these people so they can start to take it from A to B. And that's why I like the movement of
Yeah.
man like Nipsey Hussle, because
The,
he's 1 foot in the F3, but 1 foot in freedom. You know what I'm saying? And the jewels are in the music. Slowly but surely, let's get out of this situation we're in.
it's like breaking trying to break an addiction, because what I find is, yeah, it's like these things are can be very addictive, and when we're trying to build, we sort of need to, you know, take those things. I'm not sure if you guys seen that church in London, and it's called what's it called, it's S something Nation. Like it's like a Christian, what's it called?
Spac Nation.
Yeah, SPAC Nation. There you go. Yeah, so it's basically SPAC Nation, like it's a bunch of youths, yeah, and they're like bangers for Christ. But what I find interesting is that they've taken drill music, yeah, and they turned it into basically drill gospel. Well, we can have that conversation whether or not this is acceptable or not. But what I find is that a lot of the youths were brought on, and a lot of youths, yeah, were brought onto the thing, and they were taught how to, you know, forex trade and all of these different things, and how they got these youths into it in the first place is through that flashiness, through that, you know, music, and it captivated the youths that were on the road. And now a lot of these youths now are actually making proper money the legit way, and they're getting proper money. So it's like we need to
Alright,
find somewhere to put like one, like you were saying, 1 feet in and 1 feet out. And when it's all set, we can get everyone on one thing. You know,
exactly. Music is marketing. Yeah, because if you think about it, P. Diddy had a relationship with this French man. I thought he owned Ciroc, but it turned out he was in charge of marketing the drink. So all of a sudden, Rick Ross got the advert in his videos back in the day, and everybody's carrying bottles, taking pictures of bottles in the music. Ciroc boys for life. I remember I had a friend that went prison, and he came out and said, "Why is everyone taking pictures of bottles now?" You know, I hadn't realized that it had seeped into the culture. But when he had come out after a few years, it made me realize, bam, a lot had changed. So I believe our music, even before they came to the African shores, has always been used to market an idea. It's been used to carry a message. And as soon as they found out that can be the heartbeat of the people, and that is a common conversation that we all have together through this music, then they started dripping the poison in the water. And I think it's been quite successful. If you think about old school music, they're carrying old school messages. And you think about things like Burning Spear, Christopher Columbus is a jam-blasted liar, nobody remembers Marcus Garvey, Wadada, and all them tunes. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about roots and carrying a message onto the future. But even with what they're doing with the church drill, they're marketing a way to be productive through Christ. They're saying we've got a culture here, and we can put you onto a role that can actually bring resource into your life. Then that makes sense.
100%.
That's exactly what the drug dealers are doing. Exactly what the drug dealers are doing. They're saying we can put you onto a resource here that can help you. A way of doing something that can bring resource back to yourself. So boom. You just got to do it better than the drug dealers.
And
I
this
rated I,
added
I
up.
rated those individuals that was doing that, those church guys, because what I found is that they were very, very smart in their marketing, like you said, and the way they market themselves. The pastor has a Lamborghini with the plates pasta on it. The youths that are in SPAC nations got like Benzes and all of them things there, and they're getting that all that through legit means, through forex and trading and all of that, and they're all smart youths, and it's like they've captivated a group of people that would not have been interested in the Jesus talk, by simply feeding them what they're used to, but feeding them a different way, you know. And how can we use those tactics to get more people onto what we are on, knowing that a majority of our people are not on the same wavelength that we are on.
Here's what I would say, looking at it from like the old school standpoint. I heard you, few of you brothers addressing it. I think it's important to put in the context that although the older music did have a message that resonated with us different, for example, you play Public Enemy Fight the Power in a room full of black people, that's going to have an effect. Like the music definitely resonated with the people different, but we can't just create a broad stroke and pretend that all of the old school music was like self-destruction and like Fight the Power, because you also had artists like Biggie Smalls. Now, if we look at a contemporary example of Biggie Smalls, I've made the case that 50 Cent is just like Biggie Smalls. He's no different than what Biggie Smalls had to offer. 50 Cent is the contemporary example of what Biggie Smalls was. So if we consider what 50 Cent, his message was to be poisonous, we got to look at Biggie the same way. I'm just saying we got to at least put that on the table, because what I've noticed has happened is that through the eras, it has progressively gotten worse as far as the message that they're relaying to black people. For example, it started out the gangster rap movement with somebody like Ice-T, NWA, where it's promoting the gang culture. So then you take it a step further. Not only are you going to be ingrained in the gang culture, now let's add in the violence and the fratricidal war. Take it a step further. Now let's talk about selling drugs to the community. Take it a step further. I find where we're right now in the trap wave is not only are we going to do the gang culture, the violence, and the sell drugs, now it's added on the extra layer of drug abuse. Like, you now have become the addict of the drugs. Like they now brag about the Mollies and the Percocet and the promethazine and the, you know, the opioids and everything else. So now we've become the drug abuser as well as the drug seller, as well as the violent gang member, as well as a person participating in the fratricidal warfare. So I've noticed that the dominant society has laid on an additional layer each time. So how do we get out of that? I would say support the brothers, support the artists that are doing the things and keeping their music true and conscious, I would say.
So yeah, bro. So you spoke on the trifecta, huh?
Yes, sir. And peace, brother Arthur. What's up?
Peace to the panel. Peace, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Peace,
my
family.
bad. My apologies for being rude.
Good evening, Arthur. Pleasure to have you.
Peace,
up,
witness.
bro.
Peace, big bro.
Big up, bro.
No crazier Israelites to take away our thunder.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
That was over my head still.
Yes, as a customer. So what? Are you not happy with the music now? Do you not want to move on to fashion?
Well, I love music, man. Music is my number one passion, man. That's the one thing I love. I think just as much as I love my wife and kids, I love music. I come from a music family. My great-great-grandfather, my great-great-uncle, Thomas A. Dorsey, they created what we now know as modern-day gospel music. They're the originators of that. So I love music. In my younger days, I had a record label called Top Notch Entertainment here where I live at in Trenton, mostly hip-hop. And I kind of want to rebirth it more like R&B because I like the new alternative R&B that we got out now. I like the soulfulness of it. I like the message that those young people are getting out through their genius of music. As far as hip hop, I think it's trash. I think it's a form of genocide. I think that they're using it to help us self-destruct. And there's not enough of us out here blocking it because, you know, I always had this saying, who stole the soul? And I feel like we allowed Europeans and we allowed other non-blacks to take over the music industry and kind of narrate it the way they wanted it to go. And we never really took ownership of something that belongs to us. Especially, we're really the originators of most American music outside the country. And then you could really dig deep and find that there's some you know, African American roots in country music and folk music, rock and roll. You know, R&B is self-explanatory. But I just feel like, just like everything else in Black America, we've lost control of it. So now that white A&Rs and white music execs are running it, they're letting anything out. I can't believe that anybody would sit in the studio and think 21 Savage is dope, or think anything the Migos is spitting is dope. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't believe an A&R like, oh man, that's the one right there, that's the hit right there, because that music is trash. In comparison to what I grew up with in the 80s and 90s, I mean, we had so many, like the 90s was the golden era of rap music, and the 80s kind of began, you know, because when Rakim first hit the scene, wasn't nobody really spitting like that. And we don't have those spit masters no more. We don't have those Nas's, and we don't have those ill rappers. You know what I mean? We still, you know, Dave East is kind of dope, Styles P, the Locks. But as far as having influential and impactful artists, we don't really have that anymore. I think music is trash. I think we've allowed outsiders to destroy the core of music.
What do you think of Kendrick Lamar?
I think he's dope. I think he's a genius in how he does his thing. I like the message in it, and I like how he does, you know, he doesn't allow anybody to get him off his square. But I also see that he's, you know, he don't have no problem with rocking with corporate America on the music tip. I mean, he keep true to his game, but he don't have no problem with Virgin over the pop every once in a while. I mean, you know, it's a money thing, so I guess he's doing it for the bread.
Yeah, I'd agree that mostly. I think J. Cole is probably a more underground version of that in one sense. It's just slightly less commercial. But I'm going to say, though, that more or less whatever conscious artist that we're going to talk about from the 90s, coming up through the 80s, would represent a similar thing in the sense of the fact that it was record labels that were controlling the thing at that time. You see what I'm saying? So in this more independent era, I don't know if Kendrick Lamar is any less corporate, let's say, than most of the artists that we listen to that were on major labels. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, that is. I'm sure there's some exceptions to that. Like Public Enemy, I'd say it's probably less corporate in a lot of senses. You know what I'm saying? But
I don't think a lot of '90s rap. I think when the '90s rapper went corporate, it kind of ruined their brand. You know what I'm saying? Even though, because a lot of '90s rappers that was hitting, they kind of came under their own record labels and did distribution deals through major labels. That's how a lot of them became, as big as they are, like Wu-Tang Clan.
I was gonna say that's after Wu. Most of
Yeah.
us before Wu.
Yeah, Wu set the standard, and everybody else followed suit. Master P came, then
Yeah.
Juvenile and them came. Then it just became regional, where you had like regional small, small
Yeah.
niche labels started getting in and getting their thing. So like you said, now it's more independent because the formatting has changed. You can use, it's digital now. So before you had to sell albums, you had to move units. So now it's more digital. So the record label has less control over the dissemination of the music. You know what I mean? As far as like it's internet, as far as the technology wise.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a little watered down. But you didn't really you had some rappers that was corporate in the '90s, but a lot of them kind of did their own thing until they got the corporate. You know what I mean? Like Wu-Tang, I wish they never broke up. I don't know what what was precipitated that, but they kind of set the standard on bringing the whole crew together and everybody in the crew eating and putting out their own imprint.
Okay. So
Can I just say? Can I just
okay, go
say?
ahead.
Sorry, sis. I just wanted to say that we used to have a radio station in London called Choice FM, and I've heard rumors that it was started up by one of the members of the Black Panthers of the UK at the time. I'm not sure how true that is, yeah. But they sold out basically, and they sold to who we know as Capital FM, which was always the white radio station. But they're both subsequently owned by a radio station called Global. And Global, I start hearing that name everywhere. And when I have to turn off what they now deem as black music, which wasn't the same black music that was on Choice before, in my opinion. Someone might say it's wrong, but I think it's gone way more foul since it's turned into Capital Extra. Yeah. So they've controlled that whole vibration by owning that radio station, and certain people they got rid of straight away. You know what I mean? I thought, what's his name, Jeff Schumann or something like that, the black man.
Yeah, they got rid of Jeff Schumann and they got rid of most of their reggae DJs. No,
exactly, all of them. And now it's get down. You know what I mean? Get down, shake your booty. How many black people can you kill? Yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? So for me, I just feel like they're still influencing. They're still finding a way to influence. And I still believe that the main modes of listening to music, because the game's changed into things like Tidal and it's turned into YouTube, I think the use of algorithms are very interesting. If you go into all of these WhatsApp groups we're all in, haven't you noticed people keep sending in videos that keep coming up in your suggestions on your WhatsApp, on your YouTube? You know what I'm saying? They study us, and they're trying to, you know what I mean, shape the population as a good shepherd should do to his farm animals. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what's going on right now. I mean, we got to decide how we're gonna, you know what I mean, combat that back.
But do you not think that a huge part of that is about the demand, i.e. the audience are demanding that type of music, therefore that's what's playing. Likewise with the YouTube algorithm, that's what's being clicked and watched, therefore that's what's coming up in more people's trends.
I do think so, but I think you can have it's a two-way street. I think you can have an influence by saying, which one of these would you like? Yeah. Would you like to get drunk? Would you like to get high? Or would you like to sniff? Yeah. Most people will say, I ain't doing them. I'm gonna drink. Or some one person will say, I'm gonna smoke. I'm not doing the other one. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's gonna pick the least of the poison, the one they resonate to the most. Even a lot of the conscious songs that people may have listened to or mentioned in this conversation, they wouldn't say they're wholeheartedly conscious. It was just such a great relief at the time. They was listening to so much other foolishness. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I also think that I would, if there were like back in the day when there was like a little bit more of a equality in the types of music, right? A little bit more balance. of what you would say like low vibration and high vibration, then you would be able to say, okay, there was a higher demand for lower vibration, or there was a higher demand for higher vibration. But I think that who's somebody in the mute they might um but I think that now if you're saying that people are clicking on a certain type of music, but you know that they already produced it in order for them to demand it. You see what I'm saying? It's not like people are
Yeah, it's like
saying,
a chicken and egg thing, isn't it? Like, what came first, the
right.
demand or the the influence that
And
made you want
especially
to?
if they don't have the other options or as many options. Let me say, I'm not saying that, to discount all of the other artists out there that are making music that can, that's positive. But I'm saying if that's not we're overwhelmed and bombarded by this low vibration music. And we're not bombarded by higher vibration music, right? So if you live in an area where all they have is Taco Bell, KFC, and Popeyes, right? And the chicken wing, the Chinese man selling the chicken wing, you don't have a Whole Foods. So is it that you really don't like vegetables, or is it that it's or is it that it's
You,
not in your community? You see what I'm
you
saying?
know
Like,
what? Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what kind of suggestions come up on someone's YouTube who doesn't listen to any of the type of genres we're talking about. So someone who listens to rock and roll, country, and the rest of it. It'd be interesting to see what their thing is, because a part of me believes if we were prolifically looking for, say, gospel music, sort of soulful, we will see more of that in our suggestions. I think the problem is as well when we click on, say, more neutral artists, the algorithms almost preempt that you will also like the low vibrational thing, because people move from the neutral to the low vibration. People who like the low vibrational thing will also like the neutral thing. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think the algorithm has picked up on the connection, and therefore it will come up in your suggestions. But for someone who only listens to positive things, I think you'll find that they'll have a lot more positive suggestions.
yeah, but sometimes the negative stuff be sleeping in, be creeping in, because even with the videos I watch, all of a sudden I'll be watching all of this like black consciousness stuff, and then some crazy mess of like I don't watch no feminist videos. Some feminist
Yeah.
video will just start popping up on my thing, and I'm like, what the heck is this? Or
They they be testing us to see if we want to see a car accident.
yeah, like I'm like, wait a minute here. What it's like some Hebrew Israelite debate will pop up. I'm like, man, I haven't watched this in a long time. Um, I don't know, but I do think that at some point there is some truth to what you're saying as far as the algorithm. Like if you click on a Beyonce song, they're probably gonna put some Rihanna in your,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
probably
that's what
gonna
I'm talking
suggest
about.
some Rihanna, and then if you watch the Rihanna, then Cardi B gonna pop on, and next thing you
Mm.
know, you you know you singing the side chick anthem. You know what I'm saying?
But I suppose also it's kind of like if
There's a
people in
tr-
your circle are also watching that, then they're gonna think that you're gonna be interested in that because that's what your circle is into. So I think
Yeah.
that one is gonna come into play. And also like what everybody was talking about, like with the options, I suppose it's like if you go on Google, like how many pages are you gonna go through Google to find what you want? Like who's been to the 50th page? You know, you like you might click one, two, three, 4 pages, and you're like, boy, that's all there is. So yeah,
the-
I definitely think we need
Yeah,
to.
the algorithm's very complex. Like, I think it's complex, and that's how things that seemingly are unrelated to what you're watching, they sneak in, because on a collective, like you said, people who watch Beyonce often might jump over to Rihanna, and from Rihanna it might go to, you get me, a next one, Two James or whatever.
So
I think it's complex.
just really quickly, I wanted to show a little bit of crowd participation. I want to read some of the comments. See a comment from Deidre Magoo. She says all that garbage about crossing over. We never had to cross over because it came from us. Mm, okay. Sheila English says, I agree. We are being bombarded by low vibe music. I love the beauty of the internet, though. I have much greater control over what I vibe to than if we were only living in the radio era. So true. So true. Then there's some talk about neo soul being another option. I don't think we discussed that. Um, I think that the Truth Forum, he said that I think it's a guy. I believe it's a guy. He finds most of his music on YouTube. And as far as the radio, his favorite songs never come up on the radio, but he's into less commercial music. So it seems like the radio is what's pumping that low vibrational stuff, right? And we're able to select our own, have more control at least, if we are selecting it ourselves. Then our brother Witness is doing an awesome job promoting people's channels and posting information, information where we can be more black centered and centered with our dollars. Shopping at the largest African business directory, theblackpages.com. He also posted information. Our brother Shakara speaks his channel.
Give
He
facts.
also, huh?
I was just saying, give facts. I haven't seen it, but give facts.
Yes, he also promoted Sister Kushti's Kushti Cosmetic for all of our sisters out there. She's a lovely sister, and she does has a cosmetic line, and it's specific to our darker tones. How the variety of tones that our skin comes in, and the Ebony Status Caribbean box delivery service. So just you guys make sure you check out some of these links, um, so we can not only talk about it, but we can be about it. We can, um, part of the exorcism is controlling the information that we take in, so that everyone here made a conscious choice and a decision as to what channel they were going to subscribe to, what channel they were going to watch right now, and that's because they can count on coming to constructive convos, and we're having conversations that's going to edify us and build the community up. So we want to thank you guys for that. Uh, if Are we done with the music topic? Because I wanted to get into at least another one of the areas for exorcism.
Yeah, I'd like to get into the self-hate part, yeah, but I just got one question before we go into that, yeah. Is it possible to be conscious listening to unconscious music?
Oh, dang.
No, it's not possible. It's not possible because eventually the unconscious music will spiritually take over you. So it will happen slowly but surely. It will happen. So don't trick yourself by thinking you'll be able to resist unconscious music. You can't.
And I respectfully disagree with the brother, and I'll say why.
You're a stronger man than me solving the race problem.
I think if you have self-control, I could put trap music on in the car if I'm working out. I like listening to trap music. So I think that if you're able to discern between, and now this isn't for everybody. I want to say that this isn't a universal truth that everybody will be able to do this, but I think you can be conscious and listen to unconscious music if you're able to discern between what is real and what is just music. The stuff they're talking about in the songs, they're not actually doing. This isn't reality. These are people who are paid millions of dollars to sell out their community, and I understand that. The very same dynamic is true as if you watch a movie with murdering. That doesn't mean you're going to be a murderer, or if you play video games with violence, that doesn't mean that you're going to be violent. Are there instances in which that does happen? Yes, but it's not universal that I would consider myself to be conscious. But if I'm working out, I like to listen to, a little bit of the filth, unfortunately. So I don't think you have to completely removed from it, but you have to at least be able to put it in the context that I wouldn't let my kids listen to, I wouldn't let my daughter listen to, I wouldn't promote that music, but I would say if there's a time and a place for it, then it can be utilized for its purpose.
I
Yeah,
think
And
yeah.
Erin,
mhm. Go ahead.
sorry sis, man. Sorry sis. Bless up family, bless up, bless up.
Wait,
But
just
just to reply to
Big
the
up,
brother,
sis.
man. For me, I think therein lies the problem because I think what he said at the end that was the most telling bit for me. In that he's saying he wouldn't let his daughter listen to it, etc., etc. Yeah, but he'll listen to it. I can't. What did you say? What was the word you called it? Dirty or something?
Yeah, it is. It's filth. It's garbage. I know that.
Right
I know
then,
that.
so cool, and I agree totally. But like I said, for me, that's the problem because we can't really censor it. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And I heard you say, again, you made, good description in terms of knowing that yourself as a big man, you won't get triggered. And I appreciate that. But I think the problem is that we got young children who are listening to it and who are getting triggered. And that's what I'm saying. I hear a lot of big men saying, nah, nah, it's all right, man, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, yeah, from your perspective, I understand because it's nothing to you. You're a big boy now, but there's youths out there actually living that life. And especially in Britain, you understand? I will always say that, what I mean? Like, you hear the sort of chicken and egg reference. And for me, the music, well, and people will disagree in it, but this is me. The music and the films is what really made England more violent. Do you know what I mean? There's an absolute correlation as far as I'm concerned. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's other things that we can put into it. So I'm not just laying it squarely at the
Mm.
door of the music and the films and so forth. However, for myself, there's a definite correlation between those influences. Do you understand me? And then how the streets then became. Like I said, not exclusively. So I'm not saying just
Yeah.
that.
Can I just
So
can I
Can
just
I just
interject real fast?
you can, because I'm gonna come back. But go on, Bab. Go on,
No,
Bab.
go ahead, go ahead. No, I mean after you finish. I was just saying after you was
Nah,
finished.
man, go on, man. Because
What I'm gonna say is right. Like, see, for me, I understand both sides of the coin, but see, I look at hip hop music. Like, hip hop is the soundtrack of my life, right? All of it, all is glory. Is trap music, is down south music. See, like in America, it's different for us because, well, I mean, I know we consume hip hop and y'all consume R&B music because one of my favorite groups is Loose Ends, and that's a European group. You know what I mean? That's a British group, English. You know what I mean? So I
big up
know.
sends, man. You know your music, then, brother.
Yeah, I love Loose Ends to death, man. Like, I remember
Mm-hmm.
when I was in 11th grade, I had met him in Maryland. That was like the moment of my life. And they looking at this little 16-year-old kid telling them that the first album was better than the second album. But yeah, what I was trying to say was, like, hip hop is the soundtrack of my life, right? From the early days of Schoolie D and me listening, like in New York. I lived in New York, so we had Red Alert, we had the Juice Crew, we had 92 KTU, we had HBI, we had so many outlets that was promoting New York rap and hip hop. So I'm growing up listening to this different genre that was just speaking to my soul. So even as it grew and it blossomed and its branches and its tentacles expanded, it expanded in areas that I might not have found, pleasurable to listen to, but I understood where it came from, and sometimes I gave it a listen. So for me, hip hop is never something that arises a deficit in me. It makes me feel proud to be black when I hear hip hop. Whether it's trap music, I know is detrimental to some kids, but it makes me proud because, regardless of what they try to do to us, we still had a voice. We still had a way to get the message out. We still had an underground connection. Even though the Underground Railroad passed with our ancestors, hip hop provided a new railroad. It provided a new way of communicating. I mean, like the sister spoke about earlier about the nation of the gods and earths, and listening to hip hop and learning the language and doing the knowledge to the information was very important to me, and it's still important to me to this day. Like, I'm a huge Locks fan. I'm a huge Nas fan. And like when you in America,
But
you just
brother,
got
you're with,
especially.
but brother, without interrupting you as I have, sorry, but you're definitely talking of a time gone by. So all the artists that you've just named, I can not to I can fuck with them. You know what I'm
But
saying to you?
they still make music to this day. You know what I'm saying? They
Okay,
still make music, so we can still listen to them. You know what I mean? Nas got a
right.
new album. The Locks put out music individually, so we still have the ability to listen to them. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
still find
but,
the value in what they're saying. I mean, everything they're
but,
saying is not,
but,
uplifting.
that's yeah. But wait, because I know you're getting vibes up and you're going back in the day in your head. I know, and I want to keep you right back here. Yeah. So I hear you. I definitely hear you, but I think we're talking about exorcism of music, isn't it? And I don't think that those are the kind of genres that we're talking about. You with me in terms of
Yeah, I'm
exercising
with
the
you, but what I'm
music?
saying is like the overall point that I'm trying to make is like hip hop is a big field, right? And we can't really exercise none of them. We can't take no parts of hip hop out,
Right. So
right?
let me
No.
ask
Because
you a
What you
question.
what you
Yeah.
mean?
we
One
can't take
question.
we can't take
Okay.
no
All
all
right.
parts of hip
One.
hop has its purpose.
Can I
All
say
right. One
something?
question. Yeah. Can I just ask you one question and then I'm gonna leave? Yeah. I promise. Brother, do you use the word ni? You know, do you
Yeah,
do
yes I
you?
do. Yes I do.
Yeah, of course. Yes, you do. I know you do, darling. All right then. I'll pass it on, man.
Yeah.
But
That
see,
is
Can
a
I can
but
I
but
just
see, see, this is the thing, bro. Like you don't understand that word. So from a distance,
Now,
you
don't do
take the
that.
word in
No,
a
why is
negative
that?
How do you
connotation.
know she don't
no,
understand it?
no.
Maybe she understand and she don't
See,
accept it. You know what I'm
I
saying?
think
Like
there's a
her
danger.
truth, her truth don't have to be
You,
your truth. You know what I mean?
No, I don't want their truth to be my truth, but I also don't want them to misunderstand why I
so,
accept that word and me
so,
Okay.
using
brother
that
Arthur,
word.
what is it that you don't think I understand about the word? Go on,
Well,
you break it down to me.
the
What you
way
think
that
I
you was
don't
like, yeah, I
understand?
know you use that word. I really don't know what your connotation was saying, but I mean, but like if you were saying like I'm somebody, yeah, you can see from how I'm talking that I would use that word. Yes, I use that word, but I also understand why I use that word. I don't use that. I use that word as a term of endearment. If I call you my nigga, you my nigga. That means I'm gonna ride or die for you to the end. So for me, it's something different. I
But you,
take the negative connotations out of it. I don't allow what it meant in the white world to mean what it means to me. I don't do that.
but you see, yeah,
Can I?
I think there's a danger here, yeah, of almost glorifying the trauma and celebrating the position we've been forced into. And I think Dr. Amos was talking about this in the different types of possession. Do you
Is
get
this
me?
when he also mentioned be careful of taking on a reactionary culture?
Yes, yes, exactly that. So we've been placed into a position. We've had to overcome adversity, but really our attachment to these type of things, whether it be the music, the language, it's reactionary. Do you know what I mean? And I think we really need to design our own destiny. And really and truly, that word was given to us. It's not something we
Listen,
Right.
man,
So so like
it's
so
a
like
sickness,
so so
man.
so basically what you're saying, brother Arthur, right? Is like um with that form of logic, then you endorse or you support black women calling other black women the B word if they're saying it out of endearment.
Well, I don't. I mean, I can't speak for why others do
No,
things. I can only
no,
speak
no.
for
I'm,
why
I'm
I
no.
do.
I'm saying that based off of your logic,
No,
you said
right. That's
you
what I'm
use
saying.
the
Like
listen, listen. You use the word as a
right,
term of endearment, right?
right.
So would you see anything wrong with someone using a term out of endearment?
or like the slut walk. Have you seen the slut walk thing where
Nah, see,
No.
I
females are
mean
calling
that,
themselves
but
sluts
right,
for
but that
empowerment?
right, but that see that's something they're doing to for themselves. That's self promotion. That's not about, you know what I mean,
No,
the word
but
itself.
so let's go back to the example I gave.
Right.
Ooh.
A woman using the term as a term of endearment.
Right.
You think that's acceptable? That's good. You
If they
support it.
find that word something that they want to use as a term of endearment, who am I to tell them that they're wrong for
How
that?
do you
They're
so? How
taking
do
the
you
word back.
feel? How do you hear? Wow. Like
So
so when you hear black women referring to themselves as that, that's perfectly fine with you in your spirit. You just, it's great. It's like, yeah,
No,
Is
no,
that
no,
my bitch.
no.
acceptable for
It
your
no,
daughters?
That's
Is
my
that
no.
bitch.
If
acceptable for
When
your
she says,
daughters?
listen, when she says, yo, that's my bitch, you like, yeah, that's your bitch. Like you rock with that.
if
That's what's
that's how
up.
she feels, if that's how she defines the word, and that's how she
No, no, no,
uses the
no. You
term, I
listen. I'm
can't.
asking you your opinion. I'm not asking does
I'm
she
trying
feel it's
to give
good.
you my opinion. I'm
All
trying
right.
to give it to you.
It doesn't
What I'm
sound like
saying
it.
is, if that individual feels comfortable with using that word as a term
But
of endearment
evidently
because
she
that's what
felt
she used
comfortable
the
because
word
she
for,
said it. I'm asking
huh?
you how does evidently she felt comfortable because she
Right,
said
right.
it. So
I'm
what
just
I'm
explaining my
saying is
sis,
that
sis,
so what I'm saying is
sis. I'm
that
just explaining. That's what I'm trying to explain
what
to
I'm
you.
saying is that when you hear that, right? How does that respond to you? Not how she responded, but okay, it is what it is. Um
Well,
I
let's do this.
No,
Can
but
I? Can I? Can I
hold on.
just?
1 minute, sis. Hold on. Sorry, Double J. Let me just jump back in there. Um, as a parent, is that your response, brother?
Excuse me. As a parent, no. As a parent, I teach my daughters. As a parent, I teach my kids not to use language that they feel uncomfortable with, or language that's derogatory or demeaning to people. Right.
so what if
But
what if they're using it as a term of endearment? Your daughter can refer to her
when
friends as their
they
bitches.
can't use it as a term of endearment in my house because they can't cuss in my house. But when they become adults and they feel like that's how they want to communicate with
No,
their
not
friends
adult. What
as
if they
adults.
15, but they outside with their friends? They not in your house,
Oh,
but they just
no,
out.
if they outside with their friends and that, I wouldn't like the cursing. So I mean, they can say, "Yo, that's my girl, that's my homie." But if they use the curse word, I'm gonna have a problem with that because I don't want them using that foul language at that age.
And she can use the N word. That's cool.
No,
Your
my kids
daughter.
wouldn't use the N words. My kids don't speak like that. My kids don't
What?
talk like that.
So, but could they though? That's the question. Could your 15-year-old daughter? I don't even know if you have one.
They speak
Go
like that
to
as
listen.
adults.
Go to a party or a gathering, and say, "Ain't no cute niggas up in here. Eh, These niggas is ugly." That's what I'm saying. Like, is that acceptable for her to say her brothers, black boys, are niggas? And she doesn't mean
Well,
that they're niggas like they're cotton picking niggas, they're slaves, they're less than her. She means they're boys. They're just boys.
I mean, that would be considered slang, right? So, I mean, I don't want them to use that language as far as them communicating. I hope they would have a higher level of speaking, but I understand that they're speaking slang, and I'm not gonna, I'm gonna try to correct them, be like, well, listen, that's slang, and you don't want to talk that right now, but I'm not gonna be up in arms about it. I'm not gonna feel like they're being like totally debased and demeaning to the individuals.
Can I ask a question here? It's going to be a slightly long-winded question, but I want to, based upon the conversation, ask the question in relation to Amos Wilson and his work here, and the idea of terms of endearment. And maybe this might touch on where he wanted to go in terms of self-hatred here. But I'm contemplating this idea of terms of endearment, in relation to the conversation in regards to nigger and bitch and them kind of things there. And obviously, these are words, that have concepts attached to them, Now, my thing is, just as much as we can say that's my nigger, we can say that's my brother. As much as we can say that's my bitch, we can say that's my sister. And there are many other words, in the language that we're using that would actually be terms of endearment. You see what I'm saying? But we're choosing these terms for a reason, So, do we have to contemplate the extent to which by finding these terms which are historically derogatory, not necessarily just in a personal way, but in a properly institutionalized way, and we've turned them into terms of endearment, does that reflect on the fact that we have become, in some way, shape, or form, endeared to the concepts, behind these words and the image that our historical and contemporary oppressors have tried to shape for us to emulate in our use of them, in their use of them? In other words, I'm asking, does our use of them reflect in any way, shape, or form an internalization of the image they try to create us in?
I think it's an anti-internalization. I think that it's the acknowledgement that you know what the negative connotation of it is, but you choose to use it in a positive way just to show that your words really have no bearing on me, because how you feel about me, I don't see myself that way, and I don't see my brother that way. But when I talk to my brother, I know when I say that's my nigga, I know what I mean by that. I know what I mean, and I'm intellectually sound enough to know what I mean, and I can articulate why I'm addressing him that way, right? Because it's a bond that me and him have created through whatever trials and tribulations we went through, or whatever merits that we met on to solidify that bond. So when I use that word, I don't use that word loosely. I don't go around saying that to everybody. I say it to a minority of people that's in my inner circle. So that word is not something that I sling for every black man I see, or I sling for every sister that I see. But I use that word when I describe people that I really have a bond with and a love for. So for me, I don't. It's not predicated on what the oppressors do. It's predicated on me, and predicated on how I derived at the word and the use of the word through my interactions with these individual people.
And if I could jump in real quick, I'm gonna connect the dots. I know we kind of went off on a tangent down this path, which is okay. It's still edifying. The initial question that he asked, could you be conscious and still listen to the trap music? And I was getting to a point, my larger point was that I'll make the argument that you can only listen to trap music if you are conscious. You can only listen to trap music if you are conscious. What do I mean by that? If you are unconscious listening to trap music, it will have a extremely detrimental effect on you because you will be poisoned by the message. If you are conscious, you can discern between what is reality and what is entertainment. So in that case, I would say you would have to be conscious in order to listen to trap music. Now, let me connect the dots to this conversation. In some instances, although I do not use the N word personally, I don't, denigrate anybody who does. But I will say, following that same logic, you would have to be conscious in order to use the N word, because if you are that way, you would understand the history of the word, you would understand its context, you would understand its power, you would understand its meaning more so than a Pookie and a Ray Ray just calling everybody the N word or letting anybody say it. So, following that same logic, I would say it would make sense that you would have to have a certain sense of understanding in order to use that word. That would make more sense than an unlearned person using it. But me personally, I choose not to. But I was just laying that out and drawing a parallel between the two.
Glasses.
I just wanted to just really briefly address the topic of being conscious and listening to unconscious music. Um, I would personally advise that to be at a minimum, if like you said, like for working out purposes or something like that. Um, I would, because even though you're conscious, even though you got your crystals and your chakras is aligned, and you're reading Dr. Amos Wilson, and you subscribe to Dr. Sabi Facebook groups, and you're eating an alkaline diet and all this great stuff, right? Words and images are powerful, right? And depending on how concentrated, depending on the amount and how long the duration that you're intaking this, it's you're intaking it and you're processing it. We cannot act like this will not have an effect on us, because it does. I know for a fact, um, when I used to watch Bad Girls Club, I used to feel more aggressive and angry. The way in which, if someone wanted to cut me off and while I'm driving, or act rude with me in a grocery store, now I might be like, really? Is it that serious? But when I was watching on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, people fighting and, just beating chicks' asses all the time, all the time I was watching that, then when you go to your toolkit of what to do, what type of behaviors, you know, you might not be operating with your throat chakra and using words. You know what I'm saying? You might bust somebody upside their head with your hand because
You're absolutely right.
that's what you've been seeing.
Absolutely.
You've been seeing that. You know what I'm saying? You've been literally seeing fights on your television or on your phone. You know, that becomes your reaction.
Reality.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
totally agree.
So you
Hundred
you you
percent right.
have to like guard. You got to guard your ears, what you hearing. You know, you can't be saying, "Oh, I want to be have a husband. I want to be faithful. I want to be, not operate in lust." And all you hearing is this. It don't matter if you got a girl. Just come home with me tonight. All of this craziness. I can't be taking that stuff in, but yet I'm trying to live a certain type of way. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I remember jamming to that Beyonce surfboard stuff, and my son was in the car. I said, "Oh hell, my son can't be watching me talking about surfboard, surfboard. I'm his mommy. I'm the goddess in his life. So it don't matter how good that song is. I can't do it. I had to turn it off. See what I'm saying? We just gotta, I don't know, discipline ourselves.
I agree, but would you say that I believe that all conscious music isn't conscious? Because I think some of it is a bit it's a bit of a fantasy. It's a bit of a fantasy that there is 100% unity. There's a bit of a fantasy. I'm not trying to be negative here either. I want unity.
No,
You know what I'm saying? But I'm just
mm-hmm,
saying that if I walk out and like I'm in Jamaica right now, yeah, it's like,
mm-hmm.
and the reality I'm seeing and the way everyone relates to each other. Sometimes the music is quite on point. It's quite on point to how everyone's relating to each other, and I see the same thing in London. You know what I'm saying? So I would say that you
Yeah,
can't
but it's a
you can't be in a dream
egg
world.
argument though, Bridget. That's the problem, man.
What do you
Was
mean?
the problem there before? Are they creating it,
Chicken
man?
or egg?
Well,
Yeah.
Jamaica wasn't always like that, man.
The
I
chicken or the egg. And my thing
chicken
is,
or the egg.
right now, we can't even do anything about the chicken or the egg. But what we can do, right? We, all 14 of us watching, plus the rest of the people that are going to be watching this, after it's posted, everybody on the panel, we can make choices on what we choose to support, right? And have those things grow. We can add water, we can add sunshine to those seeds and have those things grow so that way,
It
maybe
has
those things will
overall
pop
effect.
up. Yeah, maybe it'll pop up in somebody else's recommendations because all the support is getting. I mean, I don't really, y'all know more better about this algorithm thing than me, but I don't know, but we can't think about, oh, did the environment create the music? Did the music create? It's here now. This trash ratchetness is here, right?
Yeah,
What we
100%.
gonna do?
It's
What we gonna
definitely
do
here.
about it? What are we gonna do about it?
I think we have to create alternatives. I think we have to create
Run it out, man.
alternatives and figure out ways to promote the alternatives and kind of divert the people to other alternatives.
Yeah.
But the alternatives has to have that same, it has to
Energy.
resonate. It just can't be wishful thinking. We have to make sure that whatever we're offering that as an alternative, it resonates with the audience we're trying to reach.
And it has to
I
be
think. Do you know what I
viable.
think? Do you know what I think about today's music? I think the producers have got a lot more respect in the game now. The producers that make the beats, yeah, a lot of the people, a lot of the Migos people, they don't understand what they're saying. They're just happy to dance to it because the producer's done a great job on the beat. Yeah, that means that we could take somebody who's actually a very good artist at what they do when it comes to the conscious thing, and they can be impactful if they know how to, if they're encouraged through economics to navigate through the game, because it is a music industry, it is a music business. You know what I'm saying? And the business, I think, is what kills down a lot of great artists that can come with a good message. But if some people come up, they got a good message, but they present it so weak that, you know what I mean, it doesn't stand up against somebody who's talking stupidness. But then we just need somebody who talks very good and people to support them. You know, like Chronix. I don't know how he's doing so well myself. I would have thought they would have wanted to thwart him, but I think that, you know, he sells out arenas where he goes, and his message is beautiful, man. When I heard Black is Beautiful, you know what I mean? I was getting a little emotional stuff. You get me? So big
Big
tune.
up Chronix, man.
Big
Sexy
up Chronix.
Chronix. Blood clean. Jesus. Yeah, man. Chronix.
Okay.
Balance, boy. You come balance.
Yo,
Danny from
I have
Cougarish,
no
man.
idea who Chronix is. I gotta
That's why
research
we
this,
got the
brother.
feminine
There you go,
energy.
bro.
on the panel. That's right.
There you go.
Yeah, I
Pronox,
never heard
man.
of him. I gotta check him out.
Big reggae
No,
artist, man.
Can we touch on the
Now, see,
self-hate
I
thing?
love reggae music. I seen Garnett Silk in concert when I was stationed in Germany. He had 60,000 people crying in the rain. I love reggae music. That at the end of the day, I think that's my favorite genre of music. I love
yeah,
reggae music. Love it. And ain't nothing Jamaican about me, but I love it. See, I don't know, sis. You know, up here, reggae is popular in the Northeast.
of course. You definitely, definitely. That's what I grew up on. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not Jamaican. Well, I guess you could say it's kind of in my blood though. I do have my great grandparents are Jamaican. So,
Okay. Okay.
but we want to get to self hate. There was a
I
point
don't
for us.
know. I don't know. That's kind of easy. You know, self-pay is good, but I think we're avoiding certain things that we
We're
know
avoiding.
it's gonna be hard to exercise.
Speak on it right now.
What we avoiding,
Okay.
witness?
So earlier, B1 brought up reactionary culture. So there's certain things. So when we look at certain things, maybe we should look at, the food we're eating, the cuisine.
Yes. Speak
I was
on it,
just about
witness.
to say that. Damn.
Speak on it, witness.
Yeah, because I put
The fried chicken there.
okay, you heard it, the fried chicken. Okay, you heard it, the fried chicken. So, I put an interesting link where it's from the Advice TV show, Advice Show on YouTube. It's a brilliant channel. Lets Black Americans know about the injustices that are taking place all over America. And he had this video saying, basically advising people to avoid fried chicken. And he began to talk about how it poisons the blood, causes high blood pressure, heart attacks. And a lot of this cuisine that we eat, whether it's African, West African, American, North American, soul food, certain ackee and saltfish, Caribbean stuff, right? Are we saying that needs to be exercised, or are we saying that's perfect? That's
Nothing wrong with ackee and saltfish. Witness.
Is good, right?
Tell him again. Tell him for left the act. Yeah, look.
Yeah.
Are you sure the spirit is not
The
deep?
defense mechanism is kicking in.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking maybe the spirit has taken a hold of a few of us.
No, but being serious though, what's wrong with ackee? Ackee's not unhealthy. I mean, what's wrong with ackee? The saltfish.
Any poisonous? Any poisonous?
Nah, we can cook it, man. You have to know if you cook it.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look,
but
I'm being serious though. I mean, look, ackee and saltfish is not unhealthy. If you're gonna start talking about, some of the other foods, then I could definitely appreciate that, man, because basically our cuisine is upmarket slave food, isn't it? Like, come on. But
come on, 100%.
But I love it, man. So I don't know what I'm gonna do about that one there, Star.
Where does saltfish come from?
Precisely why I mentioned it. Exactly what you just said there, 99. Because so many of us love it. I mean, we were talking about the music, and so many of us love the negative side of the music.
Okay, so what foods are we talking about that's bad? Because I don't think, I don't eat hard food, so I don't need taking all that starch. I have a bit of rice, bit of pasta, bit of red meat, bit of chicken. What's the problem?
Fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, ham hocks, pork chops.
Nah, you see? Now that's what I'm saying.
It's terrible.
You need to talk to Arthur Witness. Because soul food is a completely different story. When you hear things like
what I'm talking about,
and
American
fucking
soul
cornbread, you get me? Witness, talk to Arthur. I'm muting up.
I can understand Arthur liking the food. That's not the problem. The problem that I'm trying to see if we can come up with a solution for is what happens if you really love that demonic spirit which is coming to you, whether it's through music, through cuisine, through and you love it so much. Can you really detach yourself?
It's the alternatives. You gotta provide that alternative and encourage that love for that new alternative.
Yes. Right.
But you see those alternatives, I think they need to be viable, whether that's the music. But you get a portion of individuals that engage in that music because they see that as the most viable way out of their situation. or people eat the foods they eat because it's readily available. And
I don't know. I mean, I
convenient.
heard all of you talk about the music, and a lot of you guys came up with some brilliant solutions. But I'm gonna make it plain. What is gonna be the alternative for brothers and sisters who like eating fried chicken?
No,
Well,
but there is a change
But
already
hello,
with this though, because
They
hello.
gotta
But
create
but
Let the
something.
have you
vegetarian
even heard
tell
the
you.
thing? Have you
there is
even
Let
heard the
the
argument that it's not the fried chicken they like, it's the seasonings?
let the
And
vegetarian
ironically, that's
tell
all veg.
you.
Really, the seasonings. Okay,
We
Yeah,
all eat fried
the way it's flavored,
cauliflower.
isn't
It
it?
tastes.
You ever eat chicken without seasoning, bro? Brother
yeah,
Witness?
yeah. Notting Hill Carnival.
With no seasoning. Are you sure you was at the right carnival, bro?
Man took a long turn, boy.
hey, but look, I'll
But
put it.
there is definitely a change, though, I feel witness, even within our communities, in terms of the food that's been eaten, whether it's been forced or by choice, man.
Wait,
Um,
what do you mean a change?
in what our communities are consuming food wise. I mean, you're a
What?
vegan for fuck's sake, so there is a change. I mean, years gone by, you wouldn't hear of such things. Even some of the elders are changing their diet, like I said, whether it be by force, because they're catching little diabetes, this, that, and the other. And then obviously those that are coming below should be watching that and changing their thing, man. So I think that there is a change still. I mean, I don't know
But
about America still. I'm not gonna lie, 'cause I know you lot are a bit stubborn, but I think over here now, hey, shots fired. I think
Yeah, you
there
I
is.
taking a
see,
lot of
I see
shots
you.
at us.
I
Lord
see you
have
taking
mercy, you
them.
taking a
I see
lot
you
of
taking
shots.
them shots, Nine Ether. I thought
Yo,
it was all
yo,
love.
yo,
I
that
thought it was all love. Nines was us.
Nani, you're gonna have to start turning ADOS on us, you know. Not that fam.
No, but you
Yeah.
know, but let me qualify it though. Let me qualify it though, because and maybe melanated not so much here, but what I'm saying is like and I think it's I don't want to say it's a dual or like a double-edged sword, but I think soul food is quite intrinsic, like properly to Black Americans. Wouldn't you not say it's like part of their culture, this, that, and the other? Whereas I think in England, because we have like different cultures of food, I don't know.
No,
No,
Yeah.
but
I
it's
know.
not,
I would
it's not
agree.
very much
I
different
would
though.
agree with
Like,
you because like my background is not like Black American background, and when I interact with some of my like Black American friends or like what they would say like is good food. Okay, like I like yams. I like candied yams. It tastes good. It's yams with a bunch of sugar on it. It's not gonna taste bad,
you
right?
know what? When I
But
found out what that was, yeah, I couldn't believe it. I've been hearing about this candied yam thing for a while, yeah, and
Y'all
I
never
didn't.
heard of candy yams?
No, I know, I know. We heard of it, but I didn't actually know what it was for years. As it's something,
Oh,
as a child, I actually found out what it was,
hmm.
and I was like, "Why would you put sugar upon yam?" I don't understand something.
Cause it tastes good. That's
Yam
why.
welcome.
Yeah, I didn't get it, man. But it's sorry, sis,
but
I
but what I'm saying is that like when I think of like like that food that grandma would make or that you know like my culture of food, it's none of it is soul food. None of it is what you would consider like Black American uh staples. Like I didn't grow up eating collard greens. I didn't grow up eating grits. I didn't grow up eating. I don't even know. I don't even know what a ham hock is to this day. What the heck is a ham hock? I don't know. But these are things that when they get a neck bone or what I'm saying, like these things that people. It's yes, this is it is characterized as part of their culture because it's things that was passed down from one generation to another generation to another generation. So they take pride in what sugar and corn syrup.
This is
What
this
is
is the
that?
thing. This is what it is.
Someone posted
Soul
something about
food.
sugar and corn syrup.
Soul food was this. Soul food was a slave. It was contrived during slavery. It was taking the scraps, whatever was thrown out, and it was turned into a cuisine. It was used to feed the family. But the process to make it edible was so strenuous that it took a collective, right? So as the years went on, the tradition went on, and different generations came about, it became a meeting thing. It became a thing where all the mothers and the nieces and the daughters would be in the kitchen preparing the food, because soul food is rarely ate every day or every week. It's usually either on a Sunday or it's usually during a holiday. It's not something that we partake in every day. Fried chicken is not a soul food staple. It's just something that's been added in. Fried chicken is more of an Americana thing. More white people eat more fried chicken than black people. Believe that, right? Because all the fried chicken places.
We've been to America now. Come on.
What do you mean? what does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything?
Hold on. Let me say something here.
Hold on. Let me just finish saying what I'm saying. So now, if you look at what soul food is, the reason why soul food is prevalent because soul food allowed the black families to come together. It was a place. It served as a magnet to us coming together and having family moments and having joy and everybody eating and they full and then everybody bust it up and chop it up after we was eating. So it's a part of our culture and it's an important part of our culture. But the only thing is, now that we've advanced in time and science and medicine, we're realizing that it's probably killing most of us. And it's the reason why most of us have lost an aunt or uncle or a mother or a father to diabetes, cancer, and things of that nature. So we're starting to understand its detrimental effects on us, but it's still an important part of our culture. So it has a less everyday staple as like it used to be in the 70s. Now it's more just during Thanksgiving, Christmas, holidays, things of that nature.
But
so what you said to me,
making the best out of the situation that we had at the time, though, was that just us making the best?
No, I just think we like food. I think we just like food.
Yeah, but we had shrapnel. We was given shrapnel meat, and we turned that into a meal.
Right.
Do you understand? But like,
do
you get me? That's still not base case scenario.
What I'm not getting though, is because man, them like from the Caribbean, I want to like say that we don't eat oxtail and cow foot and them thing there. You know what I'm saying? Chicken foot soup. It's all the same process, family. You know what I'm saying? It's
no,
you know what I'm saying?
Chicken
Can I just say
foot,
something?
Man. There's no meat on a chicken foot, man.
But they put chicken foot soup.
Yeah,
listen, I'm in Jamaica.
Foot, man.
Yeah, but there's nothing unhealthy about chicken foot soup. It might not be appealing to some, but you can't say it's unhealthy.
But Nanifa, what I'm saying is the same process here that the brother just talked about in terms of taking the scraps of what they give us and creating something.
No, absolutely.
It's the same process. So when we talk about cold foot and oxtail and them something there, you get me? It's the same process. You see what I'm saying? So we're all coming from the same experience. And I think the difference with brothers and sisters in America is that they were more close to a certain level of white American kind of, what is what I mean? Like in the sense of this white American sensibility to make everything jumbo size. What's it called?
Right. Supersize everything. Right.
Everything, fry up everything. You know what I'm saying? I think that had more of an influence. And then as well, when you put a lot of that in because I mean,
that's true. If I'm wrong, that's true.
I feel like there's a difference between living in a rural environment and then living in a city environment.
Right.
Definitely. So I'd imagine in the South, in rural parts, that there are slight differences to the thing, and you might get healthier, versions, or options concerned. You see what I'm saying? That's certainly the case.
I would have thought the opposite down south, actually.
Huh?
No, sorry. I said I would have thought the opposite down south, actually. But it's okay.
Well, no, down south fast food in America is about convenience. We eat a lot of fried food and quick food because it's convenient. You ain't got, like everybody's working, so the wife ain't got to come home and cook, so they'll grab something. It's about convenience, and we've all been caught up in the convenience instead of just going in the kitchen and preparing healthy meals. So we do the quick fast thing, the processed foods, the packaged foods, the packaged rice, the packaged macaroni and cheese. So those things have a detrimental effect on us too. So it's just about convenience over here. So it's like, that's why things like soul food, like, white people probably consume more soul food than black people do because it's, oh my God, let me taste these collard greens. And, like Sylvia's in New York is a tourist trap. It's no longer a restaurant that serves the community. It's a restaurant where people from all around the world come and taste what they may think is the best soul food that America has to offer.
And I wanted to add this in because Arthur, you mentioned something that was true, that the history of soul food does have its connections to antebellum slavery, and like
Right.
something like chitlin, which is pig's intestines or pig's feet.
Yeah,
This
Collard
was the
greens.
cuisine that black people had to eat. Now let's fast forward and look at it 2019. There's no reason why black people should be eating chitlins and pig feet and these things that we know are not good for us. So to the brother witness, his point, he's exactly right that we know that these things are detrimental for us to continue to consume, but we're
Just
still
like we
doing.
don't need to
But
use
let
the
me,
new
but let me,
one.
let me put it in context that I'll use a fast food example. They have scientists that study, that look at these things, that make the perfect flavor of salt, sweetness. They make it efficient, they make it fast, they make it taste good. So they literally do everything in their power to make it, to manipulate you into buying the fast food. There's a science to marketing, to selling, to constructing, to the flavors that they put into it. So there is a hidden agenda that's the underlying layer. But to your question of how do we get out of it, we have to see it as suicide. We have to see it as a form of subtle suicide, whether it's consuming alcohol, drugs, pig's feet, anything like that. We have to see it as subtle suicide that's taking away from the value of our life. And I think once we look at it that way, we'll be able to make certain changes.
yeah. I
I
remember
agree.
my brothers, my big brothers, he's actually from the States. Or shall I say, he lives in the States. But he's a African-centered marketing expert. And at one point, he was studying marketing. But whilst he was doing that, he was doing a health and nutrition course with Dr. Leila Africa. And he was looking to leave the marketing world at one point. And he said, you know what? And randomly in a session that he was doing with Leila Africa said, you know, like a lot of this information that I'm giving out is well known. Yeah, just what I'm saying. But most people, even when they know it, yeah, you put like a healthy green salad in front of them and put like McDonald's in front of them, they're gonna eat the McDonald's. Why? Because the McDonald's is marketed in a particular way that makes you want it. So he said that it's not even like we need more dietitians or nutritionists. We need more marketing experts.
Right.
Yeah,
To market healthy choices.
right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
See, and it goes back also to what the sister said earlier about not having a Whole Foods in your community. If you go outside and it's a Chinese joint, it's a corner store, your choices are limited. And then if you don't have a car or your grocery store don't really sell quality produce or quality vegetables, you kind of just lean to what you know best. And in America, what we know best is fast food.
Yeah.
But it is a form of suicide, like Strap said. It's definitely a form of suicide.
But also though, because lifestyle is about more than what you eat as well. Because as far as like Jamaica is concerned, this whole debate is taking place at the moment as well. In fact, people are, because we act like our foods here across the black diaspora are all that different, and they're really just not. You know what I'm saying? But why the things that's different though is our lifestyle, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? So in the sense of the fact that if you're eating certain kinds of foods here, like now you can mention the hard food, yeah, the yam, the green banana, and something they're rare. If you're not engaging in activity that is working the body, then that eating too much of that food is going to have a detrimental impact upon your body because you're not using up the energy. You know what I'm saying? So it becomes toxic within the system. You know what I'm saying? So the way that our lifestyle changes have evolved as well is also having an impact upon how our body is processing food. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This is very hard. The part with the food, the cuisine, exercising demons. This, I mean, for music, I show no sympathy, but for food, I'm very sympathetic because it's.
That's because you're from Nigeria.
So when you say
True, probably,
yeah. So brother witness, um when you say that this is very hard, let me just, I was commenting in the I was making a comment, and the sister Deidre, she said she loves her ackee and saltfish, and I said me too. In parentheses, I says the veganish woman, and I say that I'm veganish because for the most part, I eat a vegan diet, but it is a struggle. It is a journey. It is a process. I can tell you that I can tell you that the first food related decision that I made was over 10 years ago for me to get to, and it was me stop drinking cow's milk. So I was still eating beef, but I decided to not drink cow's milk. You see what I'm saying? Like I didn't go cold turkey and say, "Oh, I'm not eating this, I'm not eating that, I'm not doing that," because one, I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and I didn't want to make changes that I couldn't sustain. So I cut out the milk. Then I cut out. I was very selective with my pork because I used to eat pork. So I stopped eating all pork except for bacon because bacon was too hard to give up. Right?
That bacon.
Listen. I'm being transparent here. Oh, and I used to eat
Go
salami.
ahead, yes, go ahead, go ahead.
It was bacon and
Exercise.
salami, right? Then I said, no bacon, no salami. I was only eating chicken. I ate chicken, turkey, fish, and then but I was still doing cheese and all this kind of stuff, which is kind of backwards because I wasn't eating. But it was just a process. It's only been like the last 2 years that it's and I can't say no fish because I have eaten fish, but for the most part, no beef, chicken, pork, turkey, and fish and meat, milk derivatives intentionally. And I say intentionally because if I'm eating cookies, am I gonna be like, oh, I don't know if they put milk in these cookies? Like, no, I'm gonna eat the damn cookies. If cookies taste good, I'm gonna eat the cookies. But you know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna eat the cookies. But I wouldn't say, oh, go in public, buy coffee that has, and I ask for creamer. I'm gonna say, can you make it with almond milk? Or I'm gonna make that extra step and get the almond milk. Or when I make mac and cheese at home, I make it with nut a cheese that's made from nuts, either cashews or almonds or stuff like that. So um, thank you. What it needs to be said. Thank you so much. And I mean, it's still a process because um, it's not easy. And if I do fail, and if I do, I don't even say fail, but if I do decide, because saltfish is one of those things, like I'm from a Caribbean community. My family is Panamanian. And guess what? We call it bacalao. That's how you say it in Spanish, right? So it's very hard to just cut that out of your diet. But I will say I eat it way less than I used to.
Yeah, somebody, I don't know who it was, somebody mentioned earlier one of the solutions to trying to exercise the demon within cuisine. Somebody mentioned marketing. We'd have people marketing a different type of cuisine. So I think that's an interesting idea. Maybe, but maybe that could work, but I don't know. But that's one way. But it's going to be very difficult for that one. That's almost like there has to be a part two, part three, part four for cuisine alone. Because
Wait, so
Wait,
we have about 10 more minutes of the show, and I wanted to plug what we're going to be talking about next week, just in case some people are leaving. Because it's just hot off the press. It seems like we really got some wonderful things in store for constructive convos. So we're going to be having a 4-part nation building series, and
woo.
next week, yes, and next week is the first part. Are you ready for the topic? Polygamy and polyandry.
Wow.
Your
Yeah,
guy's gonna wanna be.
I'm gonna miss that one still.
You're gonna miss that one.
I'm joking. I'm
we,
joking.
we're gonna need your input, brother Shakara. We're gonna need. I want all the sisters in the chat. Make sure you're in the building next Monday, 4:30 East Coast time, 9:30 UK time. We're going to be talking about nation building and specifically polygamy and polyandry as a form of nation building. Could we actually benefit from it? All right. So we have about 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes of the show. We have any final words? Any more comments from the fam?
the food thing. I don't know. We're
Food
gonna
thing.
need a big plan for the exercising of that one. We made more progress with the music. What was it that he wanted to bring up? Self-hate. That was it. He wanted to talk about.
Wait. Before we move on, though, I went to ask Witness though, yeah, about this thing from a West African perspective, because we're not necessarily talking about quote unquote slave food. That's what I'm saying, not necessarily. So,
oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff within Nigerian food which should not be eaten. But this is why I'm sympathetic, because I can understand if you go up to your average Nigerian man or woman and tell them not to eat certain things because it's reactionary and it could cause problems, I don't think they'll take too kindly. Like rice is very popular in West Africa.
Yeah.
But rice didn't come from West Africa. I think it was more Southeast Asia, India, Vietnam, China. But it's now become staple diet in most West African countries. Then we have all the big starchy carbohydrate things, the fufu, the eba, the pounded yam, all that stuff. Adding it into your diet, amala, abula, all this stuff. It's like almost like having cement inside you. Once it goes in, it's just. but like I said, I'm sympathetic with cuisine. It's like I'm not gonna go up to a Jamaican person. I used to live with a Jamaican woman who used to cook rice and peas every Sunday, and I used to see the amount of coconut cream and butter she would put in the rice. Now it smelled good and it tasted great, but I'm not gonna tell her that cholesterol, because. So I don't know. This is why I need help when it comes to this thing about cuisine. The music, I know where to go when I listen to the brothers and the sisters talk. Self-hate, I think I'll have an idea where we're going when we do it in the future. But when it comes to cuisine, I'm at a loss. I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know, maybe we can make a music to promote better eating.
You could try, but I don't know. If it would just be like the hit of the week, maybe for like a week or a couple of months, but then it would disappear. But I think long-term marketing, marketing was mentioned earlier. I think long-term marketing. I mean, if you can get hip-hop artists to plug Tommy Hilfiger and make his stuff popular back in the 90s, I'm sure you can get like well-to-do, famous black people to like.
We had that one. Well, I mean, he's not like a super large rapper, but what's his name? Waka Flocka. He's a vegan. And he was.
Yeah, I don't vegan now. Common's vegan.
Yeah, he was talking really publicly about it. And Maya, him and Maya.
Rihanna, she was promoting coconut water, right?
Before. Okay.
The way you said it,
he's like coconut water. That's vegan.
Yeah, like but I mean, I was just thinking like, even though that coconut water is not the same thing as the proper thing. I mean, like the fact that mainstream artists can promote these things, and then people will gravitate to them.
That's true, because like we were saying, that is an example of the chicken coming before the egg. She talks about coconut water, and then boom, everybody and their mother start drinking coconut water. She's not, talking about something that is so popular that now she's talking about it. She has the potential to make that like a shift towards people hydrating themselves with something more natural.
Where did this thing come out?
The coconut water itself, or when she was promoting it.
He is hilarious.
But she's not like promoting coconuts, isn't it? Yeah, so it's like a branded coconut water, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So when did that come out?
I have no idea. But like, it's been a couple of years still.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this because I'm gonna agree again with what Melanie has said, but I'm gonna say that if it weren't for Dr. Sebi, and if it weren't for Layla Africa and them people there, that the whole, I would say that it kind of starts there, innit? You see what I'm saying? And like with Rastafari and them kind of things there. So that, for example, it's like Left Eye, yeah? Dr. Sebi was doing his thing. People knew about him, but Left Eye, because she's a celebrity, her going down there made him bigger, so to speak, and drew more people's attention. But he was always doing the work. he was always there doing what he was doing. You see what I'm saying? It's just that Left Eye's association with him brought him to people's awareness, isn't it? Like, this is what I'm saying. So
Yeah, 100%. If now Drake went to, like, obviously Sabi's gone now, but if he was like went to Dr. Sabi and was like, yeah, then it would be an impactful thing. But Nipsey's doing a documentary on Dr. Sabi, right?
yeah, I did hear something about that still.
Yeah, so hopefully that will be coming out soon, and yeah, man, I'm sure that's gonna be impactful. It's about the court case where the US took him to court about him beating cancer, right? And he was proven to be at least not lying when he said that he cured cancer. So yeah, I think that's gonna be a wake up call for at least some people, and yeah, man. But we definitely need to encourage the people that we support to support the things that support us more, innit?
Right. That's so true. We need to. One of my friends was. I was on my journey, and I was complaining about how difficult it is to not eat cheese. Right? You know, because listen. I ain't gonna lie. I like my fettuccine alfredo, and all those kind of things. I like just cheese. And he said, you need to eat to live, not live to eat. I was like, I don't want to hear this. I was like, that's not what I want to hear. But it really stuck with me, and I think wasn't that the title of one of is it Farrakhan or Elijah Muhammad's book?
Elijah Muhammad, How to Eat to Live.
Yeah, How to Eat to Live, and it's so true, and with that, does require discipline. But even just saying eat to live, if you tell yourself that, right, the same way that you hearing these cooking up in the trap music and all this other stuff and twerking, tell yourself eat to live, eat to live, eat to live. Eventually, when you go into McDonald's and you pull up in the drive-thru, you're gonna be like, man, I ain't eating this crap. I need to eat to live. It's gonna come to you. Cause that
So,
stuff that you're
so what are we
taking
doing? A 30-day something? What are we giving up for 30 days? What are you saying?
Listen. Brother E, I'm not messing with you, okay? Because you be having people ready to pass out talking about drinking only water. You know what I'm saying? All right, listen, how about this? No plantain for 30 days.
That's not gonna happen. There's no way on earth.
No plantain. No
wait a minute. What's wrong with plantain? Please tell me. I'd like to know.
It's a starch.
Okay,
it's starch. Sugar.
Oh yeah, and the sugar. Okay, of course.
Look. DJ Magoo said, "Uh-oh."
No, I'm
press one in the chat if you could go 30 days with no plantain. Let's see. Press 1 in the chat if you could do it. Press 2 if you can't do it.
Well, I definitely think, yeah, we could. What kind of things do you think that we eat in here that like we could take away right now? Obviously, you're on a veganish kind of thing, but like for most people, the things that they would eat that you would recommend, or anyone else, what we could stop. And yeah, I'll take one of them, and I'll stop eating it for 30 days. I'm happy to do that, to exercise these demons and take a step forward. And
got a bunch of twos so far. Just letting you guys know. People not trying to give up the plantain, so we got to come up with something else.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm not knowledgeable on being a nutritionist, so that's why I don't want to. That's why I guess I don't. I mention it because it's a complicated issue, but I'm not a nutritionist. So if I tell people don't eat rice, okay, but you still need carbohydrates, so rice isn't really that bad. So I don't know. So
you can eat quinoa. You can eat quinoa.
Quinoa.
Better.
All right, we could do at least no microwave for 30 days.
Wow, no microwave.
That is a good one. The microwave is terrible, man. That is a good one.
Right. All right.
That might affect a lot of West Indian businesses, though.
Everyone.
Wow, that's scary. Really, a lot of them rely heavily on microwaves. Wow.
Yeah, when you get a packet thing there,
But even the food, though, more time when they heat up in the microwave, no?
It depends what you get, because obviously they cook for the day, innit? So if it's on the fire, it's on the fire. what I'm saying? But yeah, that's what you get in it. Yeah.
All right, so people in the chat, do a 1 if you could do no microwave for 30 days. A 2, if you just can't do it.
Yeah, to be fair, I also don't own the microwave, so it's a bit cheating for me. But
You see how
yeah,
you stay? You see how you stay, my G? You see how you stay?
You see how you stay? I
I'm
told you
trying to help people though, man.
we shouldn't have. No, brother E can't. He's not because he's biased. He's biased.
Well, I'm
See,
trying to bring people to the light, man,
listen.
or
He
to
put a
to
2
the
for the
black side.
plantain. He couldn't. He couldn't. He said he already doing it. He put a 2. He couldn't go away with the plantain. All right.
All
So
right,
listen.
cool. Man, you do the microwave and I'll do the planting. How about that?
So you're gonna give up plantain
No,
for
no,
30
no, no.
days?
It doesn't matter. He's in Deutschland. They don't have plantain there, so no.
They do, man. The Chinese sell it here still, or there, and it's like premiums. Like it's expensive compared to London.
Make it easy. One thing that everybody eats, they know too much of it is bad for them. Wheat. Avoid wheat. Bread. 30 days.
I'll do that. No bread for 30 days. A man later you give up the microwave for 30 days.
I can eat bread. Wicked. I could do no. I mean, because I just normally I could warm up on the stove. That's not a problem.
Yeah. All right. Settled.
So everyone in the chat, no bread for 30 days. Put a 1 if you're down. If you're giving up bread for 30 days, put a 1 in the chat. That means no buns on your burgers. No peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
They ain't gonna do it. They ain't gonna do it.
We gotta have faith, man. You know.
Wait, Deidre. No bread. Where's the 1? Choose forum. You don't need bread. There go Deidre. Deidre got it. It needs to be said. Come on. We got a 1. It needs to be said. Where you at? Oh no, they put a 2. No. We don't want a 2.
I've got another question here. If you'd be interested, in seeing a show on Kemetic yoga, could you put a 3 in the chat?
Okay.
Kemetic yoga. You're interested in seeing the show on Kemetic yoga? Put a 3.
I think most people don't know what Kemetic yoga is. That Kemetic part's got them spooked. They're like, it's Kemetic. It's coming through now. Yeah.
3.
Yeah, we got the 3s.
Just an African based form of yoga, as opposed to Brother E. How many times you gonna vote? But Brother Shakawai, you got a bunch of 3s. So yeah, we in there.
But wait, what are you not talking about though? Like a workshop or like a live yoga session?
Yeah, live thing. Like we'll start out with the live. That's the introduction, and then we'll build out the Kemetic yoga course and the workshop and everything. You get me? So we've got the taster and to get everybody in, and then we've got the more in depth for the people that want to go on the journey. You know the ones there.
Alright, cool. I hear that still.
Yeah. We're gonna be some yogis, some Kemetic yogis.
I'm glad you're doing that, E, avoiding the bread, and the people in the chat. I'll be thinking of you when I'm eating my favorite spaghetti, garlic, olive oil dish. I promise.
Wait a minute, Witness.
Yes.
Where are you at? You're not jumping on this bread thing,
Witness, this is all for one for all. What are you talking about?
I know. I'm messing with you. I'm just messing. I mean, I don't eat meat. I've avoided wheat. I'm going crazy. My taste buds because I want to eat ice cream, and I had to return the ice cream that I picked up in the supermarket. So
they have vegan ice cream, Witness. They have
but I'm avoiding soy, and it's got soy in it.
No, they don't. They have made it with cashew milk.
Not where I shop. So, so they don't sell that. The only one they sell is.
DJ Magoo is having plantains tonight, for real though. Like
is that boiled or fried?
Yeah, you're boiling it. You're boiling it.
Definitely.
So family, Please tune in next week, 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, 9:30 UK time. We're going to be talking about polygamy and polyandry, the first of 4 sessions on nation building. Be there or be square. It
Peace,
has
man.
been a blessing. Been awesome building with the family, the Constructive Convo family. You held it down. This is Melanated Goddess and the fam saying peace.
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 Peace.